फाइनेंशियल इंसाइट। तो गाइस एनआईएसएम सीरीज 15 रिसर्च एनालिस्ट सर्टिफिकेशन कोर्स में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम शुरुआत करेंगे गाइस चैप्टर नंबर 8 कंपनी एनालिसिस एंड फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस। तो इसके पढ़ने के बाद हम लोग को क्या सीखने को मिलेगा गाइस, जिसमें कि आप देख सकते हैं लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव में सबसे पहले देख लेते हैं आफ्टर द स्टडी दिस चैप्टर यू शुड नो अबाउट द रोल ऑफ फाइनेंशियल एनालिसिस इन फंडामेंटल एनालिसिस, consolidate and standalone result of a company, how to read balance sheet, how to read profit loss account statement, how to read cash flow statement, importance of reading audit reports and notes to accounts, financial statement analysis using ratio and company used ratio, computation of the distribution analysis, importance of peer comparison, need to track equity expansion, dividend, earning history of the company, importance of study ऑनरशिप स्ट्रक्चर इनसाइडर ट्रांजैक्शन। तो गाइस ये बहुत ही आप लोग के लिए या हम लोग के जो भी लोग इक्विटी मार्केट में वर्क करते हैं या ट्रेडिंग करते हैं, इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, बैलेंस शीट जानना होता है किसी कंपनी का, तो इस चैप्टर में आपको बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त सीखने को मिलेगा गाइस। तो हम सबसे पहले शुरुआत करते हैं। तो जैसा कि देख सकते हैं वी हैव सो फार लर्नड how to analysis of a company based on the internal factor as well as based on the external factor। तो कंपनी जब हम किसी चीज़ को एनालिसिस करते हैं उसमें दो इंटरनल फैक्टर और एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर दोनों के बारे में अध्ययन करते हैं जो कि इकोनॉमिक एंड इंडस्ट्री कंडीशन को बताता है। नेक्स्ट स्टेप्स इन्वॉल्व्स ट्राइंग टू असेस द impact of this factor on the company future profit cash flow in terms the fair value of the share। और कंपनी की फ्यूचर वैल्यू प्रॉफिट कैश सभी लोग का एनालिसिस करके और जो शेयर की प्राइस होती है उसे हम अध्ययन मैच करते हैं कि फेयर वैल्यू है या अप वैल्यू है। तो देखते हैं there is where the financial analysis comes in fact financial statement analysis serves us in many ways। In section 6.4 we talk about the bottom up approach to market sizing that would involve obtaining revenue number from financial statement। In section 6.7 we also talk about the various industry specific KPI। Much of the information to calculate such KPI will have to come from the financial statement। In section 7.5 we discussed about the certain financial metrics such as profit margin and a financial position that contribute to the strength or weakness of the company। Information of that also has to come from the financial statement। Finally, when we try to understand expected profit of a business, we have to understand the interaction between the various financial items। This will also involve studying the past financial statement to understand behavior of financial data point or the line item। Thus, financial statement analysis play very important role in fundamental analysis। In order to able to do financial analysis, an analyst need to not be a great accountant, but the analyst should be able to read, interpret financial statement। However, हालांकि prior knowledge of the accounting will certainly be added advantage। तो इसमें है गाइस कि जो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट होता है उसके लिए कोई ज़रूरी नहीं है कि अकाउंटेंट है तभी आप अच्छा कर सकते हैं, पर नॉर्मल लोग भी सीख के आप अध्ययन कर सकते हैं। पर जो अकाउंटेंट होते हैं वो कुछ मौके पर वो हमेशा एज उनके पास होता है। तो ये देख सकते हैं इंट्रोडक्शन टू फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट। इन इंडिया लिस्ट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट एंड इट्स फॉर्मेट दैट लिस्टेड कंपनी नीड टू मेंटेन and publish are governed by the Schedule 3 of the Company Act 2013 and INDS 1। As per the INDS 1, a complete set of financial statement that listed company need to publish in include following। जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं हर एक कंपनी का गाइड फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट डाटा Q1, Q2, Q3, जैसे कि अभी समय चल रहा है Q4 का, तो फाइनेंशियल ईयर 26 का Q4 का रिजल्ट अभी सब कंपनी का आना शुरू हो गया। तो जो कंपनी लिस्टिंग होता है उसको एक निश्चित समय पर उसको अपलोड करना होता है या मार्केट को बताना होता है। तो देख सकते हैं पहला क्या, स्टेटमेंट ऑफ फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन और बैलेंस शीट। इट प्रोवाइड्स इंफॉर्मेशन ऑन द फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन, asset, liability, equity at the end of financial reporting period. A statement of profit and loss account. It provides information about the company financial performance, income, expense, profit for the given period. It is also to return to as a profit and loss account. IND as one require a statement to also include the comprehensive income or OCI includes certain gains or loss on account of changes in fair value of the asset and liability that are required and permitted to be not recognized as a part of the income and expense. A statement of changes in the shareholder equity. Shareholder equity refers to the fund that belong to the shareholders. It can undergo change on account of various factors including profit, earned dividends, paid, additional share issued by and certain income and other comprehensive income. INDS पर recognize this statement as a part of balance sheet. तो जो है गाइस स्टेटमेंट ऑफ चेंजेस इन शेयर होल्डर इक्विटी सभी इसमें बारे में अध्ययन करते हैं। कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट क्या है? कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट प्रोवाइड्स अ समरी ऑफ द वेरियस सोर्स एंड यूजेज ऑफ द कैश। तो कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट में गाइस जो भी हम यूज करते हैं कैश के रूप में या उसको सेव करते हैं या कहीं पर इन्वेस्ट करते हैं पूरा इसमें डेटा होता है। डिटेल नोट्स क्या है? एक्सप्लेन द अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी एंड ब्रेक डाउन द इंफॉर्मेशन प्रेजेंटेड इन द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट। While presenting the financial information, company will have to provide comparable information for at least one prior period. Thus, every financial statement need to contain information for the current period and their prior period. Company can also disclose to provide comprehensive financial for a long period if they prefer. One of key departing feature of the financial statement regulation in India compared to rest of the world is that in India financial statements are expected to be meant of general purpose. It is expected to serve different types of auditing including shareholders, lenders and employees, trade unions, government, vendors, general public. On the other hand, many other countries instead financial statements are targeted at their investors. A standalone financial statement and consolidated financial statement क्या है? In the eye of law, every company is a separate registered entity. However, हालांकि often we have also come across situations where a company is owned and controlled by another company. For example, Geo Platform is a separate company, but it is a majority owned and controlled by the Reliance Industries Limited. Similarly, Toyota Kirloskar Motor Limited is majority owned by the Toyota Motor Corporation, Japan. Since each company is a separate registered entity, each company prepares its own individual financial statement, referred as a standalone financial statement. However, in case of large group, these stands also financial statement can provide acute misleading. For instance, Toyota Motor Corporation is a Japanese company, but it operates across the world through several of its subsidiary companies. If we look at the standalone financial statement of Toyota Motor Corporation, it would only show sales of the independent entity, sales in Japan, the sales of Toyota Group in the rest of the world, including the China, India, North America, or any other part of the world, done through the subsidiary will not reflect in their sales. Therefore, companies are required to present consolidated financial statement. In consolidated financial statement, all companies that are controlled by the company are treated as a part of a single group. Thus, if combine the financial performance of all group company together and present, it's a part of single financial statement. It is important that one company can control another company by owning more than 50% of the voting rights. By having the right to appoint majority of the board of directors, company that control another company is generally referred as a holding company or parent company. द कंपनी दैट इज बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड इज रिफर्ड एज ए सब्सिडीज। तो गाइस जो भी कोई पेरेंट कंपनी होता है, उसका कोई सब्सिडी कंपनी होता है, तो उसमें 50% उनका स्टेक होता है, 50% से ज़्यादा, ताकि वो अपनी वोटिंग राइट्स कंट्रोल कर सकें और जो भी डायरेक्टर, बोर्ड का डायरेक्टर, चेयरमैन जो भी होते हैं, वो अपने अनुसार वहाँ पर फिट कर सकें। तो हर एक पेरेंट कंपनी अपनी सब्सिडी कंपनी में 50% से ऊपर उनका स्टेक होता है। In general, while analysis a company from the perspective of an equity analysis, consolidated statements are generally preferred over a standalone financial. That is because the latter provides a more holistic picture of the group performance. However, sometimes there may be situation that prevents a subsidiary company from distributing dividends to the parent company. This can arise when the subsidiary company is located in geography that can strict capital control, where the subsidiary company has agreed under the debt covenant to not pay any dividend to its shareholders. In such scenario, it is also important to analyze the stand-alone financial position of the parent company to understand whether it can fend for itself times of crisis. SEBI regulation require listed company to publish consolidated financial statement on annual basis. Further, it also mandate listed company to publish a standalone financial result on quarterly basis. Even though it is not mandatory, some company voluntarily publish their consolidated financial statement on the quarterly basis. Equity analysis finds it challenging to analyze groups which do not publish consolidated quarterly numbers since the time gap between two annual reports are almost a year. Analysts will have to often contend with the later information if consolidated quarterly numbers are not filled. देख सकते हैं बैलेंस शीट अब देखते हैं गाइस। द फॉर्मेट ऑफ बैलेंस शीट इज प्रिस्क्राइब अंडर द शेड्यूल 3 कंपनी एक्ट 2013। बैलेंस एक्ट ये इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाएगा, शेड्यूल 3 में होता है बैलेंस शीट के, जो कि कंपनी एक्ट 2030 में ऐड किया गया था। इन एडिशन इन द S1 require that company should also report changes in shareholder equity which show the various movement in shareholder equity. The format prescribed by Company Act is applicable for all industry except those that have separate recruitment as per the regulation of the respective industry. Thus, banking, insurance, and utility company follow a different format prescribed by the respective industry regulation. That is with below show the consolidated balance sheet of Bharti Airtel Limited financial year ending 31 March 2019। तो देख सकते हैं विच कंसोलिडेटेड बैलेंस शीट है भारती एयरटेल का। तो ये जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं नॉन करेंट एसेट में क्या है, जैसे कि आप देख सकते हैं इसमें 2 करोड़ 24 लाख हो गया समझिए, ठीक है 24 लाख है टोटल, वहीं इसमें 21 लाख है 18 में, तो यहाँ पर ग्रोथ हुआ। करेंट एसेट एसेट में क्या आता है, नॉन करेंट एसेट एंड करेंट एसेट। नॉन करेंट में आप देख सकते हैं गुडविल हो गया, कैपिटल वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस, प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट इक्विपमेंट। फाइनेंशियल एसेट में आप देख सकते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट, डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट, सिक्योरिटी, अदर्स। कंकरेंट में हो गया इन्वेस्टर हो गया, फाइनेंशियल एसेट, इन्वेस्टमेंट, डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल, कैश एंड अदर। तो हो गया करेंट एसेट हो गया। नॉन करेंट हो गया जो आप कोई सामान होता है, लाइबिलिटी होता है, ये सब। टोटल एसेट में आप देख सकते हैं इक्विटी एंड लाइबिलिटी दोनों आते हैं। इक्विटी में हो गया शेयर होल्डर, अदर इक्विटी। तो इस तरह का एयरटेल का बैलेंस शीट है। वहीं नॉन करेंट लाइबिलिटी देख सकते हैं बोरोइंग, जो लोन ले रहते हैं, डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट, अदर्स, डिफर्ड रेवेन्यू, डिफर्ड टैक्स लाइबिलिटी सब। करेंट लाइबिलिटी में आप देख सकते हैं बोरोइंग, डेरिवेटिव, मैच्योरिटी, लॉन्ग टर्म बोरो, डेरिवेटिव, टोटल लाइबिलिटी, टोटल इक्विटी। तो ये सब है बैलेंस शीट में, आप ये सब सीखने को मिलेगा। फिर आ जाते हैं कॉमन बैलेंस शीट लाइन आइटम। कॉमन बैलेंस शीट लाइन आइटम्स में देखते हैं एसेट क्या है। एसेट रिप्रेजेंट आइटम्स दैट आर एक्सपेक्टेड टू प्रोवाइड फ्यूचर बेनिफिट, however as per the generally accepted accounting principle, a company can recognize only those assets which are quantifiable in mandatory terms, have been paid for in general, and entities cannot recognize self-generated assets such as our brand name. Assets of the company are classified into current asset and non-current asset. Non-current assets represent assets that are likely to give benefit over the long term. In general, all assets other than current assets explained below are non-current assets. Current assets represent assets that are likely to benefit the organization within one operating cycle. In most cases, tenure of the operating cycle is taken as 1 year. These assets are further broken down as follow. तो देख सकते हैं एसेट में दो तरह के नॉन करेंट एसेट हो गया, करेंट एसेट हो गया। तो नॉन करेंट एसेट में आप देख सकते हैं प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट इक्विपमेंट आ जाता है भाई। दिस इंक्लूड, तो ये आप याद रखिएगा, प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट इक्विपमेंट ये नॉन करेंट एसेट में। दिस इंक्लूड एसेट सच एज लैंड, बिल्डिंग, मशीनरी, फर्नीचर, कंप्यूटर्स, other similar items. These assets are shown in historical cost net of accumulated depreciation. In INDS 16 allow company to use revolutionary based model where the assets are periodically revealed and so at revised value. The choice of to apply revolutionary method should be applied for the entities as class. In our exhibition, the value of PPE as 31 March 2019 is 815.2 billion. Capital work in progress. These represent PPE that are currently under construction, not ready for operation. When the assets are completed and ready to operate from its transfer to PPE, goodwill. Goodwill arises when a company acquires another business. It represents the amount of consideration paid by a company over and a fair value of the net asset token over. For example, in financial year 18, Bharti Airtel acquired 100% stake in Tiago Rwanda Ltd for the 3,200 crore. However, the fair value of the net asset of Tiago asset liability was only 2,838 crore. The balance was recognized as goodwill. Goodwill is generally considered as a fixed asset as it cannot be sold independently. It is periodically tested for impairment, and if its value is lower than the carrying value, the difference is written of the impairment. In case of the if company pay an amount lower than the fair value of the asset taken over, the difference is taken to capital reserve. इंटेंजिबल एसेट हो गया, इंटेंजिबल एंड जाइनेबल एसेट। Tangible asset and intangible. Intangible asset refers to assets that are generally in the form of legal rights. Intangible हो गया जो legal rights के रूप में होता है। बहुत सारे कंपनी का अपना एक राइट्स होता है, उसकी वैल्यू होती है। तो intangible asset, acquired copyrights, patents, brands name, some example of intangible asset. It is important to note that self-generated asset cannot be shown in the balance sheet. However, the internally developed software program can be recognized as asset. These assets are generally shown at the cost of minus accumulated amortization. Intangible asset under development क्या आ गया? These represent intangible assets that are not ready for the operation. Once they are ready, they are transferred to intangible asset. Investment is a joint venture या associate. These represent the value of strategic investment of a company that it does not control. These are reported under the equity method, in which the value of investment is measured by the multiplying the fair value of equity of such invested by the percentage stake held. In addition, the value of the show would include the initial goodwill at the time of acquisition, less any subsequent impairment. This line item is included only in consolidated financial statement. नन करेंट फाइनेंशियल एसेट क्या है? हो गया कंकरेंट हो गया, ए नन करेंट फाइनेंशियल है। These include investment, loan, advance, and financial claim that are likely to receive in the long term. items in nature of the debt which were held to collect interest and principal are typically recognized at amortized cost. Other assets are shown at their fair market value. करेंट एसेट क्या है? करेंट इन्वेंट्री हो गया. इन्वेंट्री क्या? इन्वेंट्री इंक्लूड द वैल्यू ऑफ रॉ मटेरियल, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस एंड अनसोल्ड फिनिश गुड्स एट द एंड ऑफ रिपोर्टिंग पीरियड. ये इन्वेंट्री हो गया. रॉ मटेरियल, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस, अनसोल्ड फिनिश गुड्स. These are shown at the cost price of market value, whichever is lower. Current financial asset देख सकते हैं. These represent cash equivalent, bank balance, short term investment, receivable, and other financial claims that are likely to be received within 1 year. Cash and cash equivalent क्या है? It include cash balance in current account, short-term bank deposits, and money market investment. Bank balance क्या है? Includes balance in all bank account other than those includes in cash equivalent. Receivables represent the amount of receivables from customers. They are shown net of provision for doubtful debts. Investment represent value of short-term investment and are the shown at the fair market value. Others में हो गया गाय. Any other claim that is likely to be received within 1 year. And other current asset में आप देख सकते हैं represent other asset that are likely to provide benefit within the next ones. Yeah, this includes prepared expense or any such asset where the benefit is likely to be received in kinds as a goods, service rather than the cash and equivalent. Equity represents the residual interest in a company which belongs to the owner of the company. It represents the value of asset minus liability. इक्विटी क्या होता है? एसेट माइनस लायबिलिटी आप इक्विटी में आ जाएगा. It has several sub-components. This break down into not necessarily of the significant concern to financial analysts on the most occasion, but the analysts who are concerned about the company ability to distribute cash flow to the shareholder would be need to observe breakdown. तो इसमें गाइस है कि ज़्यादा लोग इसमें ब्रेक डाउन नहीं करना चाहते हैं, पर एनालिस्ट होता है जो कंपनी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कैश फ्लो सब होल्डर उसको ब्रेक करके देखना चाहते हैं. शेयर कैपिटल क्या है? रिप्रेजेंट द फेस वैल्यू ऑफ द पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल ऑफ द कंपनी. शेयर प्रीमियम क्या है? रिप्रेजेंट द अमाउंट रिसीव्ड टुवर्ड द पेड अप कैपिटल दैट इज ओवर एंड अबव द शेयर वैल्यू. रिटेन earning क्या है? रिटेन earning refers to the total amount of profit, other comprehensive income earned by a company that has not been distributed as a divided on set aside for any other purpose. General reserve क्या है? Represent the part of retained earning which company has set aside for utilizing in future for any specific purpose. कैपिटल रिजर्व एंड रिवोल्यूशनरी रिजर्व क्या है? रिप्रेजेंट द सरप्लस arising out of recognizing asset at value above its acquisition price. These serve as typically not available for the distribution of the dividend. Minority interest or non-controlling interest क्या है? Represent the share of equity of the subsidiary company that belong to the third party shareholder. This line items represent only in consolidated financial statement. Non-current liabilities क्या है? It represent obligation of the company that have been fulfilled after 1 year. There are many liabilities that fall under this category. Long-term debt क्या है? Represent amount of repayable toward borrowing in the form of loan or in the form of debenture, bonds, notes are due beyond 1 year. Some portion of the long-term remaining fall due within 1 year. Such portion of the long-term debt is shown separately as current portion of loan term depth in the exhibit show above Bharti Airtel has reported 872.4 billion as a long-term depth, but it has also included another 71.732 billion as a current portion of long-term debt, which is classified as a current liability. Further acquired interest is shown separately. More details about the company's debt were included in the notes of account. Exhibit 8B Note to Account of Bharti Airtel Limited providing breakdown of long-term debt. तो देख सकते हैं बोरोइंग में हो गया नॉन करेंट करेंट देख सकते हैं नॉन करेंट में आप देख सकते हैं सिक्योर्ड हो गया जिसमें टर्म व्हीकल लोन लेस करेंट पोर्शन अनसिक्योर्ड में हो गया टर्म लोन नॉन कन्वर्टेबल बॉन्ड्स कन्वर्टेबल डिवेंचर डिफर्ड पेमेंट लायबिलिटीज फाइनेंसेज ऑब्लिगेशन लेस करेंट पोर्शन। तो देख सकते हैं गाइस ये है बोरोइंग में नॉन करेंट में हम लोग पढ़ते हैं करेंट मैच्योरिटी ऑफ लॉन्ग टर्म बोरोइंग। तो ये एयरटेल का है। लेस लायबिलिटी क्या है? लीज लायबिलिटी whenever a company sign a lease on any asset for a period that is more than 1 year, the company has to recognize a lease liability. This represents the fair value of this minus amount repaid, excluding the interest component. In case if it is not possible to determine the fair value of this lease, the company can calculate the same as the represent value of lease payment payable. Analysts often would consider lease liability on balance sheet as a part of debt obligation. डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट क्या है? डेरिवेटिव इंस्ट्रूमेंट में देख सकते हैं द अमाउंट शोन ऑन द लायबिलिटी साइड रिप्रेजेंट मार्क टू मार्केट लॉस arising on account of derivative contract. Losses on contract that have to be settled after a period of 1 year are included as a part of non-current liability. On the other hand, losses on the account of contract that have to be settled within 1 year are shown under the current liability. Other long-term financial liability क्या है? Other long-term financial liability देख सकते हैं क्या है? They represent any other obligation that has to be paid in monetary terms beyond period of 1 year. Deferred revenue देख सकते हैं it represents the value of future obligation to be provided toward the revenue transaction that has already happened. For instance, if a customer buys 6-month period pack for the 1200 and has another 5-month value left, then the company should recognize 200 as a revenue for the first month and need to show 1000 1200 into 5 by 6 as a deferred revenue. And deferred revenue toward the obligation that need to be performed after 1 year classified as a non-current liability, while those obligations that need to be performed within 1 year is recognized as a current liability. Provision क्या है? Provision represent amount set aside for a liability which is yet to be fully quantified. Unlike reserve, which are set aside for unknown purpose, provision are amount set aside to meet a significant obligation. However, a company may not be able to fully quantify. It is most common example is provision for retirement benefit obligation payable to their employee at the time of their retirement. Other hand example include provision towards warranty obligation, provision towards legal liability that is to be rejected, provision toward obligation that have to be met beyond 1 year are included under non-current liability. अब हम बात करते हैं गाइस करेंट लायबिलिटी क्या है? It represents obligation of a company that it needs to fulfill within 1 year. A company has several obligations that need to be performed within 1 year. Payable क्या है? It represents that amount payable to supply for goods and service. Short term debt क्या है? Short term debt are those that are borrowed for a period less than 1 year. Although theoretically short term debts are due to within 1 year, many of the short term debts are typically rolled over refinanced. Thus, the company tend to carry their short-term debt longer into future. Some of the other current liability for the company include the following. तो देख सकते हैं शॉर्ट टर्म प्रोविजन, करेंट पोर्शन फॉर लॉन्ग टर्म लाइबिलिटी, deferred revenue, advance from customers, unpaid expense, any expense accrued but not due. तो गाइस हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो देखेंगे बैलेंस शीट से, क्योंकि गाइस यहाँ पर थोड़ा लॉन्ग हो गया है, तो इसका सेकेंड पार्ट हम अगले वीडियो में आपको फिर से लाएंगे। तो थैंक यू। आज का वीडियो का हमारा पार्टनरशिप लेमन ब्रोकरेज फर्म है, जो कि इंडिया का एकमात्र AI इंट्रोड्यूस वोल्ट ब्रोकरेज फर्म है, जिसमें कि आप लाइव एक्टिविटी, लाइव एनालिसिस, ट्रेडिंग स्ट्रेटजी आप बहुत इजीली कर सकते हैं, जो कि आपको ट्रेडिंग और इन्वेस्टिंग की जर्नी को बहुत ही ईजी और सूटेबल बना सके, जिसमें आपको गाइस जीरो ब्रोकरेज फर्म के साथ आप जुड़ें और 10.95% आपको इंस्टेंट मार्जिन ट्रेड फंड आपको अवेलेबल कराएगा। तो आप इसे एप्पल स्टोर, गूगल प्ले स्टोर से डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं, जिसमें आप देख सकते हैं 1.5 मिलियन ट्रेडर प्लस का पार्टनरशिप और ट्रस्ट है गाइस। तो आप भी इसे ट्रेड करें, इन्वेस्ट करें। ये डाउनलोड करने के लिए हमारे डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में लिंक दिया गया, वहाँ से ओपन करें, ट्रेड करें। तो चैनल को लाइक कीजिए, सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और शेयर करना ना भूलें। थैंक यू।